guys, it's Nina, and today I'm going to talk about my most disappointing reads of 2017. Now, 2017 was a great reading year for me. I read 82 books total so far. I mean, there's like 5 days left, but 82. I already posted my top 10 favorites, and I had a lot of great books, but I also had some disappointing stories. Now, not all of these books that I'm going to mention were terrible. They were just disappointing because I had my hopes high for them. Some of them were terrible, though. So let's just start this off and jump in with 10 Reasons to Stay Christian in High School by Michael Ross and Greg Johnson. This is actually the one I just finished last night. It's a very short book, and I got it for like 69 cents, and I was really hoping this was going to be a good eye-opening Christian book, but it wasn't. It was very boring. The first few pages were kind of like a debate between evolution and creation viewpoints, and that really interested me, and I really enjoyed those first few pages. The rest of the book was boring. It sucked. The two authors, you can tell, are older men because their school scenarios, their teen lingo is very old school. I mean, they use the words like dweeb and a bunch of other things that people don't actually say, at least not anymore. And it was very awkward the whole time reading the school scenarios, which is a lot. They give you a scenario like every couple pages, and then they give you kind of like questions to ponder. I thought it was a good layout. They had a lot of like sections and construction and organization to their book. It's just their information and the way they talked about it was not relatable as a teen. I'm no longer in high school, and I'm 19 now, but I mean, this is still a relatable book. It just wasn't very good. Moving on, I don't have this physical copy anymore, I don't believe, because I disliked it so much that I just got rid of it. It was called Schizo. It was by Nick Sheaf. I don't know how you say his last name. But the cover of this book was so good. I've shown the book on previous videos before, and I was so pumped about this book because the cover was so enticing to me. And the idea of a mental health book is really great to me. I love reading mental health books, but I feel like this was poorly executed. It revolves around a teenage boy who has schizophrenia and thinks that he's getting better, but he just keeps going downhill, and he's on this major search for his younger brother, who he believes is like kidnapped or lost or something like that. And it was just pretty boring to me, and I don't think it was a great representation. I found it was lacking any kind of entertainment to me. It went very slowly to me and wasn't great, and I think there was a love interest in there, which I was just not interested in at all because it sucked that much. Next, I have also a recent read. It's called Am Nujood, Age 10 and Divorced. I really wanted to love this. I wanted to hear about these kind of stories because they're just so heartbreaking to know that young girls are married off and these type of situations. This story revolves around a girl who was married off to a very older man, and she was getting abused and obviously not in a great situation because she's 10 and she's married against her will. So she ends up going to the court by herself and trying to convince these judges to give her a divorce. This girl has some serious courage. This is a true story, and the idea of this all being true scares me, but it happens, and it happens a lot more than you would like, you know, but this girl is very brave, and I don't want to, like, put down her story. It's just the book was not worded in a way that would interest me. I found it boring and kind of hard to get through. I skimmed parts because I just was not interested. I love the idea of the story, and I want to learn more about that. I just didn't like the writing. Next is The Impossible Knife of Memory by Laurie Halse Anderson. I also do not own a physical copy of this anymore. I got it from the library, but this deals with a teenage girl whose father has PTSD and is like a drunk, and she has to deal with all of that. And those are serious issues that need to be shown to us through novels like this. But it was boring. I was not entertained. It was a very long book, and it was very hard to get through. I was very disappointed because I had high hopes. One, because the message seemed so good and important, and like this could have been a really great book. But two, because I've read Laurie Halse Anderson's books before, such as Speak, and I really loved those, and I flew through them, and I just was let down by this so much. It wasn't a terrible book, it just was not good. I was very bored, and I felt like so much more could have been put into the story. It did not need to be as long as it was. I forget how long it was, but it was a long book, and it did not need to be that long. And there was just a lot of boring parts that I feel like could have been taken out to the story, and a lot of unnecessary stuff thrown in there. Then I have 17 and Gone by Nova Ray Suma or whatever. I love this cover. I think this cover is beautiful and interesting, and at first you just kind of see this girl in like a broken bedroom scene, but then if you look closer, they have a missing poster information in the title, which I thought was really cool and really interesting and unique. This story revolves around a 17-year-old girl who feels that she's seeing ghosts of other missing girls and believes she knows like their stories and how they were murdered, and she goes on this trace to find this girl that is communicating to her, but she's not sure if she's dead or not, and it was a huge letdown. I thought this was gonna be like a thriller. I didn't read the synopsis. From this cover, I thought this was gonna be a thriller about like maybe sex trafficking or missing teenage girls and the struggle of that. But it wasn't. It was like a paranormal, mental health kind of thing. I was confused, and I was disappointed. That's all you need to know. This one is The Secret Year by Jennifer R. Hubbard. This revolves around a teenage boy and teenage girl who are having a secret relationship. She's this really rich girl. He's this poor nobody. And so it's kind of like awkward that they're in a situation. It's kind of like, oh, plot twist, you didn't expect them to be together, but they are. But she wanted to have this secret relationship, so nobody knew about it. But she suddenly dies, and he is left with the guilt of knowing that he had feelings for her, and nobody ever knew that they even, like, were friends. So he has to deal with her grief alone because no one realizes that he's going through that. I found the relationship boring. I found the whole story to be boring. I thought the idea of the story was good. It was just executed so poorly. It was a very short book, so it was easy to read it fast and get over with the book. It was just such a letdown. I honestly don't remember too much about this book because I didn't care about this book. I was glad it was over with. I gave it 2 stars. It pretty much sucked. So yeah. Last book I have is Because You Love to Hate Me by a bunch of different authors and booktubers. And I might get hate for this, but I had such high hopes because so many booktubers were promoting this and so many people seem excited for this. And it kind of like gave me the vibes of like My True Love Gave to Me when all those authors came together and wrote segments of stories. It was like this, and it was about villains, and I found villains very interesting and attractive to read about, and I wanted to root for a villain and love to hate them, you know what I mean? You know. But I found most of the stories to be boring. I wasn't interested. There was one about the Little Mermaid, which I really loved. And there was a segment that Christine from Pullin' Bananas Books wrote that I found really funny and found a lot of great quotes in there. And I love that. But other than those 2 stories, that probably amounted to like 20 pages of the whole book, I didn't like the rest. It was boring. It wasn't exciting at all to me. I didn't really care for any of the villain stories. It was a letdown. That's all. I feel like I just constantly repeated disappointment, letdown, boring. But that's what all these stories were. I hope you guys enjoyed that video. Make sure to give me a big thumbs up and hit the subscribe button. Feel free to leave any comments about your least favorite books or what you thought about the books that I mentioned. I'd love to read your all's comments. Have a wonderful day. Bye!